What up, guys and gals, whoever? Yeah, check out these new graph mounts. We have these. They're pretty freaking dope. Very, very solid. I got rid of my DIY one because it was, it DIY'd its last leg and it was very flexible. This one, super solid, nice gussets. Very simple design. And because it's simple but yet elegant and has everything you need, it is fairly inexpensive compared to some of the ones on the market, which are, we don't understand why they're expensive. We actually even have holes for these here to have an additional cup holder or plier holder. That's the plier holder right there, and that thing works phenomenal. And that actually mounts right to this thing. I just don't have it mounted here because I step right here. And I really need the spot to step on and actually get from the dock to there. Otherwise it would be there. But for somebody with a huge bow, like a John boat bow, not a problem. For somebody with not all this ridiculous crap on front of the bow, probably also not a problem. You can actually put two of them. Cup holder on one side, utility holster on the other side, and then it's like got all your main stuff like right here. It's dope for the two graph setup. You've also got these. I really do like these. The utility holders, like for your hooks and for your pliers. And those are out there, yes, but do those have a cup holder? Do those? Because we have a cup holder, and I love that thing. The new additions to the boat for these tackle and utility storage systems that we just developed, being simple but effective, have really made a big difference in just a really short while to be using them. Also, I've been kind of here and there out of the place. Like right now, where I live, the fishing explodes any day, and I've been kind of pacing it because I'm about to leave for a few weeks to go to Georgia. And then I think I have this gut feeling that I was gonna like miss the window. So I've been like seeking it all. When is the day? Had a really good day today though, actually. Kind of killed it out there. Caught some fish that, I really only go out a few times a year to go and look for them. Otherwise, I'm too busy with strippers and bass. So that was pretty cool. But guess what I busted out of storage? Let's take a look at it. You guys been asking questions. Where has it been? Can we get an update on it? Well, let's check it out. All right, here it is, guys and gals. Here, it's looking pretty good. I must say, I did kind of miss it. It was stored away in my toy hauler, but then I had to go and maintenance that thing. So we finally got that together, and during the mix, I yanked it out. And so it's small enough to get stored right next to that boat. And whenever I have to work on this thing, I'll just push it out here. And it's under a tarp, so we'll be doing some things there. So let's talk about what, after the maiden voyages, after all that, what actually went right with the boat. So for one, all the storage we achieved. Like this is the terminal stove for all your wet stuff, anchor, life jackets, little stupid shoes, which those are really paramount considering you're going to be in skinny spots and you're going to be self-launching this thing without a trailer. Those shoes are really paramount. This is pretty cool. I kind of wish I would have made that a battery box though, but that's just another day stove that had this where we mounted that underneath there. And that is the only thing that I could have really, other than finding some better way to gap these, because these just weren't, the parent metal we used wasn't thick enough to actually gap this correctly, so we used pieces of EVA foam to gap that. It's a little sloppy, but we can fix that. Not a terribly big deal for me personally, because it's my boat. I don't care. I would definitely do that for somebody else's boat. But the bigger thing though is this. I thought it would be good here, because if you think about it, in most of our boats, it's historically been about a foot away from the foot pedal right here, and I generally like to be closer up, close as I can, so I'm not really sitting too far away from the front. That way, the front, I don't smack my lure on the bow trying to flip it, etc. But really, in this boat, the dynamics change for a 12-foot boat. So this is the main pit stow, and this really just belongs right here, because I end up not up here. It's a little too sketch, a little too skinny, a little too narrow, but right in the middle of the boat, it seems to be perfect. So if I'd had the butt seat right here, where I'm always at, that's like the best spot to be. So I need to either get another hatch, or I just need to drop one in here. So I did get one from Walmart, and I probably just drop it right through this box channel support that we have. And we made the box channel lid. That was one of the better inventions. I wish I would have known about that about 2 or 3 boats ago. That the box channel, meaning just 2 pieces of tubing combined with a piece of sheet metal to make a channel lid, is way stronger than an actual bent, and break channel lid. It's just way better. It's way stiffer. And so knowing that, that's really good. So I'm thinking, because this is here, if we did drop one of those in here, it'd be good. The only thing that sucks now is that this I guess it's just another day box. I would like also to move that battery, which is the main trolling motor battery. I would like to move that up here, and then just store the accessory battery back there. I had dual lithium batteries, and I really have had very inconsistent luck with lithium batteries. I'm kind of sick of them, slightly. I love them when they work. I don't like them when they give me problems, and they do give me problems. So what I have for my starting battery on my other boat, and what I'm going to use for the main power battery, is this called a U1 AGM battery. There's no group 24, group anything. The group is the U1. That's what it is. We'll be running this for the major to power the whole boat. The boat is not big. You know, the boat just has an excessive amount of bilge pumps. It's got 3 bilge pumps. Most boats have 2. It's got 1 in here in the pit, just in case it gets swamped and it can just jettison the water, to which we have the port right there. So if this boat really gets swamped, remember we freaking foamed the crap out of this boat. It's got foam everywhere, right? The only major compartments it can flood is the middle channel. And in the end, I don't think that's enough to overtake the foam bunkers and the barriers and everything we've done. But in case it starts to get a little hairy, we've got 3 auto bilges. 3. 1 right there and 2 auto in the back. So in the event that I forget a boat plug or some boat just swamps me or I get stuck in a storm or we spear a wave, we'll be all right. As long as the boat doesn't flip over, be okay. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff here that I wish I would have just carried over to my parent boat. Like some of these ideas I had, I was just, man, if I had these in my regular boat, I'd be great. Possibly getting this thing wrapped later, the same color as my truck, or the same kind of design as my truck. It's gonna be on the list. I don't know how doable it is, but you know, the green decals are pretty signature for TV Nation Outdoors, the branding, so we're just maybe just leave these on. I do miss the routed in bump boards on my boat and how useful they are. You know, catch, photo, release. Simple, quick catch, photo, release. Size it up here, throw it back. You don't gotta put the fish through a bunch of crap about putting it on a scale, because you can reasonably decide just by its gut and how long it is that what it actually is. Update on this boat. We're compiling a lot of recent footage to kind of show how the budget thing is going to work. As far as like the budget for how somebody would do it, but our budget to the person who's getting this, you know, budget smudge it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get more of these lids. We decided to use these lids. We've been holding on to these lids for a long time, but we just want to start using them now because I've had them and really I can't store much more crap in this small garage. So Nate and I got together and developed what I think is a really sick layout for not only a boat this size, but a boat anywhere. And it'll be just at a little bit maybe heavier. It'll be a little heavier than my normal kits, but it'll be okay. Little 9.9 Evinrude. This will probably go with the boat. We're going to have to clean it up, spruce it up, get it a tune up. I got to find somebody who works on these motors and take it to it so it can get tuned up. So we'll see. We'll see who somebody's got to work on these. Between Bullhead and Lake Havasu, I'll find some mechanic that'll do it. If you guys are in the local area, let me know because I need this thing tuned up. And I have a curse on working with outboards in so much that it's never worked really well for me. We got this brand new on. This is a brand new motor. It's currently charging. I wonder how long it takes to charge. I think it might take forever. I never did get around to using it the way I wanted to use it because my truck here, we had these stupid lugs and I need to just get in there and stop being lazy and take them out. And once I take those things out, they'll just fall out the bottom and then I can start I'll make a small little cradle in here to make sure the boat doesn't scrape against the non-skid. Because in my head, I was thinking super long truck. Everybody's like, what do you have a 1-ton freaking long bed for a tiny boat? Well, it's because I need the long bed to stick the tiny boat like in the bed. And then I need the 1-ton to tow my travel trailer and any other obscene thing I figure out that I'm going to need it for. But currently, it's just a travel trailer. My boat, by the way, it doesn't even feel like I'm towing anything. It's hilarious. But I'm pretty excited about this thing. It took me a while to get one of these, but I'm finally impressed enough with this specific electric motor. Everybody asks me, and everybody pretty much knows that electric motors at this point in time, just at least not for outboards, you know, they don't compete against gas outboards. And who knows? I mean, what they've done with Tesla, what they've done with other motors, you never know what they're going to do with these long term. But this motor actually does win. This is the ePropulsion Spirit 1.0, which is equal to a 3-horse motor. And we always talk about the spectrum. If you ever looked at our outboard discussion spectrum, we'll stick that video up here in the Q&A, where we talk about levels to outboards. So pretty much 2 to 6 horsepower is like level 1. Level 1 of little, you just putt around. I'm never going to plane with this motor, kind of an outboard. Then, you know, level 2 would be about 8 horse to 9 to 10 horse. And then 15 horse, really. 15 horse, you start to see a breakaway in 15 to 25 horse. And then 30 horse and up. Or specifically for some companies, 40 horse and up, that's like level 4. But as far for like level 1 motors, 2 to 6 horsepower, you're just not gonna get a whole lot out of them. You're not gonna see a whole lot of difference you're gonna see a max of about 6-7 miles an hour, maybe. If you get 8 miles an hour, it's just a really well-tuned, very light drift through the water boat. But most boats, really, you see 5 to 7 miles an hour out of these outboards. And that being said, what do we have to gain from this thing? So it is more expensive than a gas outboard, but it's not that much more expensive, not so obscenely expensive that it's not justifiable. Because where this thing does win, no gasoline. I don't mean no gasoline in the fact that like gasoline versus electric, which one's better? No, I mean In terms of like some of the bad stuff that I don't like particularly about gasoline, the smell, the leaking on its side, you know, it going bad, having to worry about ethanol problems within the lines, worrying about like carb rebuilds, and all these motors. That's another thing. Between the 2 to 6 horsepower, they're all carbureted. You don't really start to see EFI versions until level 3, which is 15 to 25 horse. You're going to start seeing them in 9.9s, just barely. The 9.9s might make like a level 3 motor with like interchangeable props and decent speed, actual planing ability, and then you start to see an EFI conversion. But all the little 2 to 6 horsepower, you know, portable tillers, all carbureted. And there are issues that come with that, specifically with the 2 strokes. A little bit less than with the 4 strokes, but still there's problems with the 4 strokes. Never again will I have a carb issue. Never again will I have to worry about running ethanol-free gas or sticking Startron or stable and then wondering if it's going to be okay later. I will store this thing for the next 5 years and it'll be fine. That's pet peeve number 1 for gas. Pet peeve number 2, oil. It's leaking. Like if you set it wrong, if you set it on the wrong side, or even if you set it on the right side, sometimes the oil leaks out of the motor. And just the older it gets, oil leaks out of the motor. You start to see it age like an old person. Just it starts coming out of places it's not supposed to come out of. Also, the cold starts. Maybe those are the top three, but the cold starts, maybe the motor not wanting to start up because it sat for too long or because it's too cold outside. The motor not wanting to start up is my biggest pet peeve about friggin' the portable tillers. I hate it. Personally, can't stand it. It goes away a lot with the EFIs, but I'm talking about for like a small outboard. Again, it's not there. That might just be my favorite thing about it. That's worth well over the cost. This thing will always start as long as you remember to charge the battery. As long as you remember to take good care of the battery. The battery floats, by the way. If it falls off the motor, just go and swim after it and get it. It's super quiet, and we do mean quiet. Like quieter than the trolling motor quiet. I don't know how they did it quite. Honestly, I guess we're looking at a brushless motor down there, but it is obscenely quiet up until it starts to wind up and actually push out its max propulsion. This thing is actually made to propel versus a trolling motor, which is actually just, you know, it's mainly meant for trolling. But some people try to use trolling motors as their main source of propulsion, but it's not really meant for that. This is actually meant to propel. And so we will do sound quality videos. We will have a few things in the water once we stick this thing in the water. It's got a bunch of other kind of fancy things. But it's totally worth it for this motor and for, say I get a kayak later, because I might actually do that because they fit better in the travel trailer. And they also stack on top of this boat. I can stick this boat in, then I can stack some sort of grate across the gunnels, then stick a stupid, like a yak on top, and then the paddle boards. Like, you know, this thing will run on all those. So it's like a little small outboard dream. It has a little carrying case too. The carrying case is dope. I don't have it though, but that really makes it very convenient. Just throw in your back of your seat, like throw it in the back of your seat. Don't worry about gas leaking on the couch and you have to smell gas for the next few months. Don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about oil. Don't have to worry about the smell. Don't have to worry about the smell of gas on your hands and then getting the curse of not catching a fish for the rest of the day because your hands stink. I don't know if that's actually real, but they say it's real. And with the obscene gas prices with petrol and all that stuff, it's really just about time that we kind of go. The more expensive gas is eventually going to get, the less and less of a case we really have for how much better are electric outboards versus gasboards. I mean, cost-wise, anyways. This is going to be a pretty good segment into what we're going to do because Tuesday I'm going to blow out to Georgia again. I try and get there. I'm going to go there for the TEC just to meet up with the boys again and do some things, check out some very cool stuff. A lot of stuff has changed up there since we started kind of teaming together, trying to expand some stuff. So we'll get to show you guys some very cool things. I'm excited to meet up with the crew again. I wasn't sure it was going to be this soon, but we are going to launch some very big news. Wait for it, it's coming. So back to what's good about this boat. Why was it hiding for so long? Where did it go? What happened to it? Do I plan on using it again? Let's get into it. I was actually gonna put this in today, but I'm thinking about not doing that. I'm thinking about going to get it powder coated. Probably gonna just go pay some money to get it powder coated and then just drop that off. We're gonna place it in here. Get it powder coated like flat gray or matte gray, kind of to try and match this turf. I don't want to put it underneath. Remember, this is a box channel lid that we did here. When we did this lid, we have the box channel to make the lid support, which makes it extremely rigid. And then I don't want to have to take that off. It'll never be the same again. So I'm going to end up putting it up top. Plus, it'll give me a little bit of a discourse for that drop down, because this was my main tackle stow, and that is going to kind of jam up where I can place my tackle. Let's see, it'll be that high. We might actually just clear it. Might actually not be an issue. It looks like it, in theory, is not going to be an issue. Some things have changed since I made this boat. I lost about 25 pounds. I'm going to try and lose 40 pounds. I get a lot of questions about how does weight affect the boat. We always don't address the elephant in the room, which is like personal weight. How does personal weight affect the boat? And I'm talking about myself included, because I have been the most healthy up until a few months now, close to a few months, where I've kind of got my stuff together there. What's more important, other than the fact that I'll feel a lot better, is that this boat will work better with me. It'll work a lot better with me. And I did notice when Ryan got onto this boat and he used it, it worked a lot better for him than it did. He by himself was using it a lot better. But even when he was in there, when he was riding it around Tennessee, he weighs like 100 pounds less than me. When he was sitting up front, he was learning in. So we're talking about dynamics. For the 14-foot boats and 16-foot boats, running the pedestal all the way up front has always worked for us. For this 12-foot boat, not really working. But it would work really well. I was standing here most of the time. I was right in the middle of the boat. That is where I felt comfortable. It's very awkward. I would never do this in a boat bigger than this. It would just be weird. But in this boat, dead center. So if you're making a Yak Killer, or if you have a John boat, like a 12-foot little shorty like this, put the pedestal mount right almost at the 40 line. If we make this like dead 50, no, that's not. That's like 40, 46%. This is about 50%. I can't run it at 50, but I can run it at like 40, right about 45. Run it right there, and it'll be pretty good right there. So I'll probably take that to the powder coater, and by the time I get back, so it'll take him 2 weeks to even get to it. By the time I get back, he'll have that done, and I will drop it in, or I could just paint it myself. I wonder how that would work. It's pretty nice. I just paint it myself. Yeah, I probably just paint it myself. And another thing, because I would have put this back here, I would have not made these Gen X. Remember, these are thicker tube hatches to be ultra strong, because I thought I was going to be spending most of my time up here in the front, which clearly not. So I would have made these not that. I would have made these like the regular hatches, which weigh nothing. Like this hatch weighs pretty much nothing, next to nothing. These 3 hatches, or those 4 hatches, including these big rod locker hatches, weigh nothing. So I would have maybe only needed to do 1 Gen X, and really after we added the box channel. So these are things we did not know, that the box channel would stiffen up hatches like this so well. So kind of a fail there, for sure. I would have only had to do 1 super strong hatch, and they would have made it lighter. The other thing that kind of made this boat a little heavier was the pour foam fiasco. I would recommend that everybody who gets pour foam, mix a little bit, 50-50 mix in a little cup like that. And if it rises correct, then use it. Otherwise, don't use it. Because the stuff that happened in this boat was unfixable unless we ripped out the whole boat and chipped all that stuff, and it was rock hard. It was like rock candy. It was terrible. So other than that going on, it's fine. Other than the few things there, the boat came out extremely successful, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So that's what we have for the Yak Killer. Just coming back to you here pretty soon. That's what we got. All kinds of crap in the yard, all over the place. I gotta get my stuff together. I'm gonna put this back in. The other day, my boat came off the hitch and ran into my truck here. Not looking great. No, but the dents are pull-outable, so that's good. At least they're like minor. They should be able to just come out. They're minor. Like, you can't tell, but now that I pointed it out to you guys can definitely tell. I don't know how long it was. It was like a week before I knew. I saw it in the light shift, and I was like, is there a dent there? But for a while, it was pretty good. I thought I was home free. Yeah. I'll tell you, Carrie's wrap was pretty tough. The wrap has at least saved this truck from at least 1 billion scratches.